Hello, welcome to Liz at Home. Thank you very much for joining me. If this is your first time visiting my channel, a very big warm welcome. And for those of you that join me regularly, thank you so much for coming back again. I'm so pleased you're here. Today I'm starting my channel color along for this month, and as discussed on my community page, we're going to be coloring an image from Little Woods by Lesley Smitheringale, and the image that was chosen by you guys was this lovely owl image, which I think works very well for Halloween. I've decided I want to do mostly ink tints on it, and might do some detailing on top of that with other pencils if I think it's necessary. And I had thought I would do the one owl and then do the other owl with you, but the eyes are a bit different on each owl, so I thought I would rather do it all online, and then I'll decide later on, perhaps I'll do one of these offline if it's all taking too long. So I've started using, I will show you here, I decided to color in the black, and I'm using a Micron 05, and I always use a paper towel because I use loads of hand cream. I'm going to put my own white highlights on here later, so I'm just covering that all up, and I'll do the other eyes while I'm busy with that. But then I also went around the whole of this part of the owl to make it a slightly thicker line. I've been looking at owl images, and I find it, for me, the most difficult thing is always to choose the colors, and I've done lots of different swatches of the ink tints and sort of some blends. And I'm not quite sure what I will use. Some of them were from various video channels that I was watching, but I unfortunately didn't actually note down which channels they were. But the blends were anyway not for owls, so we'll just see. I want to just go around that one there. Just wanted that to be darker. I've gone out of the edge here already, and what I used in this color was felt green 1530, just around here. Whoopsie. Breaking. Just want to brush that away. And then I used a mix of golden yellow 0230 and burnt orange 0260 on the outside here. And it hasn't, now I thought I had this lovely sharp point, and it's just breaking because I'm using too much pressure. I have a very heavy hand. It's not as bright as I wanted it. So I'm going to go over it with something else once it's dried, but I just want the two to be the same. I like the yellow more. So then I'm also using, I have two brushes here. I have a size 6 round and a size 0 round and a jar of water. And I find it easier to use these brushes than to use a watercolor brush where you can't control how much water you want. So I'm mostly using my size 6 brush. So I'm first going to do this green, activating it, and then I need to let that dry for a little bit. Cleaned my brush. And while that's drying, because this is dry already, I'm going to go over this whole area with the yellow again. I just want it brighter, and I'm going to go over the green with the yellow as well. And I don't want that in the middle, but I'll go over the dark of the eye, the black iris, later on. So I'm activating that. That one's better. Try not to mix the orange in with the yellow. And I think I might as well do this one as well. I'm going to make this one more yellow and leave out the green. I'm not so keen on the green. So I wasn't quite sure why there were so many lines around the eye, and I thought of actually whiting them out, but then wanting to use Inktense, I wasn't sure what to use, and the only acrylic paint I've got that's white is glossy, and to use gouache or Posca or anything, they're all water soluble, so I didn't think those would work. So I've just left all the lines, and I thought I might draw some squiggles and things in the eye once everything's dry. So I'm rinsing out my brush, just dabbing it on a paper towel, and then going around and activating that. This is a Milan brush which came in a scrawler box many moons ago when it was before COVID that I subscribed to scrawler box. Then with COVID everything stopped, and now our South African postage system is virtually non-existent. So now you'll see I've nicely gone out of the lines again, which is a little bit annoying. I wonder if I should make this one's eyes all, change the orange up. Going to try a different orange. This one is mid vermilion, which is kind of red. Going to see what happens here. First want to cover in the black. I just prefer choosing to put my own highlights in. Don't know why. It's just a personal choice. You don't have to do this. I wonder what that will look like. Let me see, using a very fine brush. This is the size 0. Got more brightness to it there, and then I'm just going to use the yellow everywhere else. This is the baby owl. I want these eyes to really pop, and I did think using the Inktense would help that happen. But so far I don't think I'm being wildly successful. Always feel that at the beginning of a painting, beginning of a picture, sort of slight fear of the blank uncoloured page. Do any of you struggle with that? I haven't done a colour along for ages on this channel, and I thought it was time. actually prefer this one's eyes. This is the golden yellow still, which is nice. And now the paper's still a bit damp and I'm going over it. There we are. And I wanted to get some shine on these as well, so I've got some glitter watercolor paints, but I think I'm rather going to use something that's transparent than using the glitter watercolor. Now for the around the eyes, I want that to be almost a white grey. So I've got this Caran d'Ache aqua something. I can't remember what it's called, but I use it to scribble on and then activate the water. And I wanted to use the neutral grey that I've taken out here. That's over here, neutral grey 2120. So I want it to be very fine, so I'm going to scribble on here with that. And I'm also going to, so that's neutral grey 2120, and I'm also going to scribble on there with dark chocolate, which is somewhere. Yeah, dark chocolate, which is 1930. Just putting these two slightly aside. I'm using my brush and I'm doing a very pale watered down version of that, dabbing it on my paper towel. Painting. Now, I do want to point out that I have the PDF version of this book, and I have printed it on quite thick cardstock. If you happen to have bought the Amazon print version, I would be very wary about how much water you apply. So this is mixed a little bit with the orange that happened to be there, but I'm leaving it. And I'm just going to go around with this. I'm hoping that the rest will look a bit darker, and so that this will look almost white. So now I need to let that dry, and I'm going to do, oh, look at that, I've made a big fat mess. Never mind, we can fix it up. It's going to, the trouble with Inktense is that it sets, supposed to set solid so that it doesn't move. So I might have to go over that with some wax crayons or some gouache or something to fix it up later. I'll see when I get there. The thing is always leaving stuff to dry, and I get quite impatient with leaving things to dry, and then I always pay for my impatience. So I think watercolor is a great medium for me. It makes me learn some life lessons along the way. To leave that. I think those are actually going to be darker, like his eyebrows. But never mind, they can have a first coating of this color, which I'm going to do all the way around here. So again, I'm just watering down this neutral grey. And then while we leave these two dry, I think I'm going to get started on the bark of the tree. So that I actually let it dry properly. There we are. I'm just going to leave that so long. Still a bit damp. All right, so now with the tree bark, I had thought that I was going to try some willow and some madder brown. So now let me see if I can find those colors. So I have my willow 1900 and madder brown 1920. That's these two colors. And I'm going to try them on the tree bark. So I'm just going to color in, and I think I'll leave the middle kind of more pale, so this can be a shadow. So that's growing out of the little nest. I don't want to do the nest right away, so I'll leave that so long. I'd like this a bit sharper, but it keeps seeming to break, so I'll just see what happens when I sharpen it. If the sharpener's not really working very well, I need to get myself a new electric sharpener. My other one wasn't electric, it was a battery one. Broke years ago, and I've just been using handheld ones since then, which are actually fine and usually the best for things like Prismacolors. I want to go around here. And I'm kind of wondering if I don't want to maybe do this creeper in a shiny, either a watercolor paint or a glitter gel pen. I had my cataracts fixed about 1.5 years ago, which have helped, but I still go over lines and things. My eyesight is, maybe it's my eye-hand coordination. I'm just not very good at staying in the lines. I think that's why I like watercolors. There's a freedom to that. I think I'll do this whole bit here. To try and keep the direction going. Of the pencil strokes. Which of you guys enjoy watching musicals? I love musicals. I also enjoy the opera, but although that's what I used to do as a living, I must admit, as far as watching, I loved being in operas. I loved being immersed in the music. But watching, I find them too long for me these days. I don't know if it's since I've got older or what, but I find for sitting down for 3 hours or something, I get itchy to move. Whereas I find the musicals actually sort of absorb me more. I suppose I've become musically lazy. I'm going to just add a bit of this willow in the middle here. See what it looks like. There we are, and then I'm going to activate this and see, and then if that looks nice, I'm going to do the rest of this tree offline. So we start with the lighter part. Always start with the light and be careful that you don't move the dark pigment too much into the light because it will take over. Now I'm going back over the dark, and then we can blend as much or as little as I want to. I think I'm taking the pigment off and washing my brush off, and then just going from the light down again. Wonder what color would look cool to do this creeping vine, if I should make it green, but it comes from the nest. So I want that to go in a little bit, but not too much. The vine comes from the nest, so the nest is probably going to be tanned color, tan and light brown. Wonder if we could add some orange into that and bring this as a sort of a spooky orange fine, like that, a glittery spooky orange. Wonder what that would look like. Love to know what you're thinking about that. I'm not sure whether I'm going to do it or not. Maybe I must leave the vine for part 2 and see what you guys say in part 1. If you think I should do the vine in a sparkly orange. I have these watercolor shiny paints. So I was thinking of that, or I was thinking of the Pentel dual metallic gel pen that has got a very bright, or the Sparkle Pops that have got a very bright, there's too much water on here, got a very, very bright orange. Because I think either orange or red will, see this brown has got a nice red undertone. So either orange or red will work well with it. I toyed with the idea of making my owl a purple owl, but I think I want him to be normal owl colours. What are normal owl colours? Sort of browny grey. That's what I had in mind. I think, oops, I'm just going over that there. I think that the gel pen will work well here, and will also, just want to lift some of that, will also cover up some of the little bloops where I've gone over. Whereas the watercolor that I have is not really that opaque, it's more translucent. See, this needs to go down here. Can always go over it. Let it feed into that. There we are. So that's kind of how I'm doing this. And I will do another layer later on, but I'm going to do the rest of this offline. Okay, well, I have done all of the tree bark, and I've done a bit of the bottom there where I used the dark chocolate, which is, let me repeat that, dark chocolate is 1930. And then I've done this using this top part of the little owl's head and the side using a different brown, and for that I used bark, which is 2000. And then for these feathers here I used bark plus, so bark plus saddle brown. And then I'm going to do the inner bit here, and I want that to be in the sort of pale grey. So I'm going to use the neutral grey over here. And I'll do this one's feathers online. I just didn't want to be going for hours. So I'm going to start darkly. I keep making smudges. I did try some watercolor paint on the background of this moon, but I had to remove it all because the paper that I've chosen, I got this printed at a print shop, and the paper that I've chosen seems to have some sort of a coating, and the watercolor paint just peeled off I'm not sure if it's the coating on the paper or if it's the toner of the print line, so I'll have to do something different there. This bead of water is traveling nicely down with me. So I hope that this is clear for you. And just dab it off there. This is the neutral grey, as I said. I've just been for a little walk around the neighborhood. It's the most beautiful spring day today. After all of our storms, and sure, I saw that New York and New Jersey have had storms as well. We also had terrible flooding here in the Western Cape. Shame the guy that works in our garden, his home was completely flooded. His bed, his fridge, his TV, everything was flooded and wrecked. So he's living in a community center at the moment, where a lot of people from the floods are, until the messes can be cleared up and it can be safe for them to go home again. We were lucky that we were not affected, other than with a lot of rain. I mean, I think it was in 2019 that we had such bad drought that we were not even allowed to flush the toilet. Every time we went, nobody was allowed to bath. You had to shower, and a lot of the time you had to take a bucket into the shower so that you could sort of soap yourself and then rinse yourself off with the bucket. So it was such a bad drought, and now all of the dams are full to overflowing, for which I'm very grateful. What did we all pray for in the drought? We prayed for rain. Now, of course, it's flooding, so I think one needs to just remember what you're praying for. I wonder if I should do these. I think I'll do these in a little bit darker. So I'm going to water down. This is the dark chocolate. All of these browns have a bit of a red tinge to them. It's bleeding in there. I should have let the other dry first. I'll neaten it up just now. So that's all the fluffy feathers there, and I want to do them just here. It's like a first coat. And then while this is a little bit damp, I'm going to go in, mix some of that brown with this neutral grey and get a color there. And I'm going to drop in little strokes, little flicks, more or less where the grayscale is. Give a little bit of texture. So I don't like that there. Just need to make this dark. I'll tidy that up with the pencil later. I'm just going to do a few little dots and things around here for a bit of texture. Again, where the grayscale is, and in a few other places. There we are, and I'll let that dry. And then, just to finish up today's video, I will fix up the eyes in the next video, but to finish today's video, I'm going to try out, I've got here my Sparkle Pop, the orange one, and I'm going to try some of these curly tangles, sort of creeper branches, and I just want to do that for a bit of fantasy fun here. So I'm just putting that on normally, and I might put a thread or two going through the nest just to give it a little bit of cohesion. Just watched an ITV short mini-series. It was only 6 episodes, called Show Trial. Have any of you seen it? I really loved it. I love court things. 6 episodes. I was fairly hooked. And before that, I've watched all 5 seasons of Virgin River. Who else has watched Virgin River? Oh my goodness, I loved it so much. Really enjoyed watching that. Love to know if you've watched it or not. So I don't know how dry that is yet. I'm thinking of using a darker brown or a green sparkle, I think. Can't quite decide to do this other tangly bit of creeper. Just so that you can see the 2 different pieces. The green Sparkle Pop is more blue-green. Now I'm going to keep it all gold because I like it, and then it will make a nice frame. So I'm just going to do this here. I'll just do the half, and then I'll finish the other half off camera, and we'll do, this is Monday today. I think it's the 2nd of October. Before I go further, I want to show you how I did the feathers here. I took bark and saddle brown, and I just did three-quarters, you don't have to color very neatly with Inktense, luckily, and we can tidy it up with either Prismacolors, or I was thinking of using Coloursoft, keeping with the Derwents for the color, for the tidying up. So I'm not going to do all of these, I'll just show you some of them. And then I went in here with the saddle brown. There we are, and then our paintbrush, damp and just dabbed off, starting on the lighter color and then taking it up. And getting rid of some of that pigment, rinsing the brush, lightening it again, and trying to bring the two together a bit more. Going to try this one, just going up. I'm just going to mash them together. Because I just want this to be basically a base coat. Basically a base coat. Still getting the color I want. And I'm half wondering if I shouldn't just do all of these in the light color instead of carefully doing them all as single little feathers. If I just go over that, actually a nice color for the feathers. Okay, now the dark color, which was the bark, I'm going to try just taking some off there, dropping it in while that's damp. It actually works a bit better, I think. No, it's not working so well. Let me see here. So I actually should have finished just a little bit sooner. I get to the stage where I'm becoming impatient, and this didn't work out well. So if you are following me, follow the way I did the feathers to start with. I struggle along for a while, and I've decided to end this video here, and we'll fix up some of the messes in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you've enjoyed the video, and I hope that you'll be back on Friday to watch the end of it, and hope and pray that our little owls end up looking good. Thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful and creative week. Bye-bye now.